There we go. Hey everybody, welcome to today's Periscope. 9 steps to help you kick ass in your next negotiation. What I want to do is go over what we do, what we've done for almost 30 years as trial lawyers to close huge cases for our clients. And you can use these negotiation tips to sell software. You can use these negotiation tips. Hey Sue, how you doing? To negotiate what movie you're going to see this weekend with your spouse. And you can use these negotiation tips pretty much in any type of business or industry. My name's Mitch Jackson, and hey Sue, I'm a senior partner at Jackson Wilson. I want to share with you 9 steps that we use almost every single week to close huge deals, 6- and 7-figure deals, and they'll work for you too. So if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Mitch Jackson. I will upload this video, this Periscope, and thanks for joining me, everybody, when we're done, and you can watch it, the recorded version, at your convenience. But the first thing you need to understand about the negotiation process, and before we dive into the specific 9 steps, is I want you to know that, as George Bernard Shaw once said, and this is one of my favorite quotes, the problem with communication is the illusion that it has occurred. And the same thing applies to negotiation. Oftentimes people think they're getting things done. Oftentimes people think they're negotiating, and in reality, nothing's happening. Relationships are being alienated. Deals are not getting closed the way they should. So if you follow these basic 9 tips, it will get you going in the right direction. Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by. All right, so what we're going to talk about is to be an effective negotiator. Before we go into the 9 tips, you have to have good people skills. That's the first thing you want to know. Good negotiators learn how to build relationships with other people. One of the best, one of the best books I've ever read that will teach you how to become a good negotiator, will teach you good people skills. It's a book by my friend Bob Berg. That's at Bob Berg on Twitter. Great consultant, great speaker. His book is Adversaries into Allies. If you get Bob's book and then you use the principles that Bob teaches in Adversaries into Allies and incorporate them into these 9 steps, you're going to be the best negotiator in town. That's how powerful this book is, and that's how good these steps are. I really appreciate the hearts, everybody. We're going to have fun today. So I'll be sharing 30 years of negotiation tips that I've either picked up, different things I've tweaked, things that personally are my favorite things that I've incorporated into the practice that you can start using as early as, in the next 45 minutes or so. One thing you need to understand about the negotiation process is you have to appreciate the fact that the other person you're negotiating with, whether it's an individual, a corporation, a lawyer, they really don't care about your unique needs. What they care about is what's best for them. What's in it for them? How does the outcome of this negotiation affect them? Once you understand and appreciate this critically important factor, then it will allow you to adjust your negotiation process in a way to get the result that you want. So just be aware of the fact that you want to focus on what is the other person looking at, and then structure these 9 steps that I'm going to share with you with that in mind to get to where you want to go. The other thing I want to share with you is understand that negotiation, successful negotiation, it's 80% people skills and 20% technical skills. Okay, these 9 steps are somewhat laid out technical skills, but you have to implement them using good people skills in a human-to-human type of approach. Trust me, I'm all about getting what you want. I'm all about kicking ass in negotiation, throwing punches, not leaving until I get everything my client wants. And you should approach a negotiation the same way, but that doesn't mean you can't be polite. That doesn't mean you can't be a human being. You have to learn how to separate the issues from the people. You can be hard on issues and hard on facts, but you can be kind to other people. And that's really what's worked well for us over the last 30 years. Now I'm going to dive into the specific tips in a second. If you could tweet out this Periscope video, let's get it out there. The more people that know how to negotiate correctly, the better off we're all going to be. We're going to get what we want. We're going to help other people get what they want, and it's going to be a win-win type of outcome. All right, step number 1. The first thing you need to know is you have to sit down and figure out What is it that I want to achieve through this negotiation? What is my desired outcome? By the way, guys that are just joining us, if you have questions, ask them on Periscope and I'll respond if I can. So you need to get clear in your mind what's your ultimate goal. What things during the negotiation process can you waive or modify or adjust? And then what issues, what things can you give away if you need to during the negotiation process? Figure these three things out at the very beginning, and you'll be in a much better position to effectively go through the remaining 8 steps. It will be the foundation for all successful negotiations. Before you start a negotiation, I want you to have a statement that you can share with the other side over and over whenever you reach an impasse. It's a statement that refocuses everybody and emphasizes why you're at the negotiation table and why it's important that everybody gets this done. For example, if you're selling a software app, you may want to have a statement that you can come back to saying something like, look, my client is interested in selling your client the app. Your client is interested in buying this software app. What can we do to get this deal done? The reason it's important in this first step to design a statement, a neutral statement that shows each party why it's important to be at the negotiation table, is because when things get heated, when things go sideways, when people misunderstand each other, you want to be able to come back to a pre-designed statement that gets everybody to take a step back and a deep breath and then refocus on why you're all here for the negotiation process. So figure out what your purpose of the negotiation is, what you can give up, and write down and memorize a statement as to why you're all here. It creates an understanding. That's exactly right. Very, very important. Most people don't do this, but every time we're ready to drop gloves and throw blows, it's always smart to step back and say, look, your client wants to purchase my client's software app. It's going to help make him or her or it a lot of money. What can we do to make this happen? So that's the first step. The second step is you want to treat, regardless of how important your negotiation process is and your desires are, you need to treat the negotiation process as a game. And what I mean by that is you need to care about the negotiation process. You need to care about the outcome, but not that much. It may be the most important thing in your life. If I'm a lawyer representing a client, it might be the most important thing that my client needs to have done this year is for me to successfully negotiate for him or her. But I can't let the other side know that. It's a poker game. You have to let the other side know that you care, but you also have to emphasize that you just don't care that much. I once read in one of Bob Berg's books, and it's a great quote, keep your cool and understand that emotions are important for the journey, but don't let them drive the car. So keep yourself in check yourself before you wreck yourself, and approach the negotiation process as caring, but not that much. It will help you get things done, okay? It'll drive the other side crazy, but it will also help you move through the remaining 7 or 8 negotiation tips. Number 3, you need to tap into the other person's belief systems. In other words, you have to understand, where is the other person coming from? Where is the other company coming from? What are their needs? What are their beliefs? What experiences? Never let them see you sweat. You got that right. Sometimes you do. Sometimes it's okay to let the other side see you sweat, but it's a calculated display. Okay, and I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. But number 3, tap into the other person's belief system. Listen 70% of the time and talk 20 or 30% of the time. You can learn more from listening in a negotiation process than you ever will from talking. Keep your mouth shut, and this is really, really hard for lawyers, especially the young lawyers, but as you develop your negotiation skills and start listening more than you talk, you can learn so much. You'll learn something from the other side that you didn't know before. You'll learn something that you can use to help them get what they want through the negotiation process so that you have a win-win outcome, okay? Let me see, there's one other thing. Understand that when you're tapping into the other person's belief system, you're also dealing with ego. You're dealing with the other person's ego. So Sometimes you have somebody that likes to puff their chest, they like to be the tough guy in the room. Play that game a little bit, okay? Don't let it become a snowball rolling downhill where it's getting out of control and the guy's ego is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but just understand and appreciate and play to that person's ego. So let's back up real quick for those of you that just joined us. We have 3 steps so far that we've covered. Number 1, before you start, know what your ultimate outcome is going to be. And along with that, write down a statement that you can each agree to keep the negotiation process moving forward. Number 2, treat the negotiation process as a game. At least have that be the perception that you're sharing with the other side. Number 3, tap into the other person's belief system. Okay. Number 4, always communicate with tact and empathy. Always appreciate where the other person's coming from. That's very, very important. When you talk about tact, tact is the ability to tell a man he has an open mind when he has a hole in his head. That's what tact is, okay? Sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So keep that in mind. Always ask the other side to keep the dialogue going, open-ended questions, okay? What do you mean by that? Why did you just say that? When you mentioned you needed that to happen during the negotiation process, why is that? Help me understand why that's so important to you. Ask open-ended questions in a polite, tactful way, also always showing empathy for the other side. Number 5, understand your strengths and understand your weaknesses, and accordingly, understand the other side's strengths and weaknesses. Do your research before you step into a negotiation. Find out what it is they're trying to accomplish, at least from your research, from your end of things, and how you can help them get to their goal at the same time while satisfying your needs and your goals. Sometimes we've gone into negotiations where somebody wanted to buy a product that one of our clients is producing or manufacturing, and we know that, and they know that, and we're trying to reach a price. But what we then found out through research is the person we were negotiating with wants to then take that product and sell it to a third party. But they don't have a connection to make that sale to the third party. It's not as strong as they would have liked. If we have a connection with that third party, we can help facilitate that subsequent transaction. We can incorporate that additional benefit into the negotiation process. You see how that works? It's by doing your research, by understanding your strengths, your connections. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And I love doing this, by the way. By understanding the other person's needs, you can tap into your resources and help make their life better, help make their next business transaction better. So that's number 5. Understand your strengths and weaknesses, understand the other side's strengths and weaknesses. Number 6, share your position using short stories, and always remember that facts tell, but stories sell, okay? During the negotiation process, and this is the big deal now on social media, use stories. Bring the other side into your world, taking their hand, taking them back in time, walking with you, and sharing what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, while sharing your negotiation dialogue back and forth. It's real important that you do this. Use pictures, use graphics, take the time to put together a video to help you during the negotiation process. A really good tip is to take an item, and you don't have to use these things, but it's good to have these arrows in your quiver in case you need them. But if you have 10 major issues in your negotiation, have something that the other side can physically look at, watch, feel, sometimes taste during each of those 10 steps. You can reach into your arrow of quivers, your quiver of arrows. You can reach out, pull out an arrow and give it to the other side and let them actually feel what you're trying to describe. Okay, so it's really important that you use stories, that you bring in photos and videos and things like that to help make your point. Now here's something that a lot of rookies, this is a big one, you guys. So yeah, try before you buy, absolutely. This is a big mistake that a lot of inexperienced negotiators and business people allow themselves to fall prey to. And that is, never fall for the old, it's either A or B. We either have to do this or this. It's either black or white. skilled negotiators will put that out to you, and when you take a step back and listen to what they're saying, whether you realize it or not, both A and B favor their position or their desired outcome, and oftentimes they don't help you. One thing you need to learn in a negotiation is that there's never just an A and B. There's always a C, D, E, and F. So always be ready to come back, to think, and come back with different alternatives, different options, other than what the other side may artificially try to share with you. I didn't see 50 Shades of Grey, so I don't know what to tell you about that. So keep that in mind, okay? The other thing is, if you're presented with an A or B option and it catches you off guard, and if you're representing a client or if you're there solo doing this negotiation, never be afraid to deflect, reflect, and select, okay? And that's something that I've come up with that's really helped me over the years. Deflect, don't take personally what was just said, deflect what was just said. Let it deflect right off you like you're a big shiny piece of Teflon. Next, I want you to reflect upon what just happened. What did he or she just say? What just happened? And reflect upon different options, different possibilities, and different solutions, and then select the outcome, your response. Sometimes you can do this instantly, and sometimes you should take a break, use the bathroom. I need to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Let's take a coffee break. It's a great time for lunch. Use a break each and every hour, even if you don't need to take a break, to step outside and think about what's going on, to take a deep breath and clear your mind, to talk to your client about what needs to happen next. Okay, before we go on to number 7, let me go through the first 6 real quick. Number 1, understand what your final outcome, desired outcome, is going to be. Number 2, sorry, I'm looking at the comments here. You know what? I don't think it ever is yes or no. And so, like I said, think about it for a second. There are always options. There are always different conditions you can put into it. The question was asked, isn't sometimes a negotiation a yes or no type of scenario? And I would respectfully suggest no. I would suggest there's always a yes, a no, a maybe, an A, a B, a C. Okay? And sometimes you have to get created to incorporate these other ideas into your game plan. But that's my take. So just kind of walk away from today's Periscope with that thought in mind. But number 1, know your outcome. Number 2, and there are subparts to these that we've covered earlier in the video. Number 2, negotiate like it's a game. Okay, you care about what's happening, but not that much. Number 3, tap into the other person's belief system. Number 4, communicate with tact and empathy. Number 5, understand your strengths and weaknesses. Number 6, always use stories to share your story, to share your position. Number 7, on the major issues, okay, this is number 7. On the major issues, never negotiate for yourself. Use a third party. Can we negotiate this list? We can negotiate anything. So listen, it's always a good game plan not to have the person who has decision-making authority with you in an important negotiation. Have someone negotiate for you, whether it's a friend, a business associate, whether it's a lawyer that's skilled at negotiation. If you get into a private mediation company, Judicate West and JAMS out here in Orange County, California, there are companies that are nationwide, and you have a skilled mediator in between you in one room and the other side in the other room. That's a great tool to help buffer the message, to help design what type of responses are coming up. You need a buffer between you and the other side. So on major issues, it's always a good idea to not negotiate those by yourself. Even if the person with me has full authority, we usually will create a perception to the other side without misrepresenting anything, without doing anything illegal or unethical, but we'll let the other side know directly or indirectly that this individual does need to check with someone else before final decisions are made. That allows us to step out of the room and talk and make the call. Well, we're going through, the question is, what skills do we look for in a negotiator? The skills we look for are the 9 skills that we're talking about right now. And if a negotiator can absorb these 9 steps and implement them effectively and genuinely and from the heart, I think those are the skills that personally I would look for. So number 7 is on major issues, never negotiate for yourself. Always use a third party. That's just been huge for us over the years. We've had cases where we were like this, literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars apart. With a trained negotiator stepping in and assisting us, we've been able to get these cases done. It just blows me away how well the process works when you have somebody in between helping you do this. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about a third party. Oftentimes we'll pay a retired judge to help us negotiate a case. Along those same lines, before agreeing to a negotiation, make sure the other side has somebody available in the room, sitting next to them, who has full authority. It's a two-edged sword. If you're going to spend your time negotiating a case and going through all of these steps and spending the time to develop rapport and relationships, you want the person with the decision-making ability in the room with you or at the negotiation table with you, even if they're sitting in a conference room next door. You want that person with you. That's just, it doesn't hurt to ask, and there's a pretty good chance the other side doesn't have the same negotiation skills as you do, and they'll bring somebody in there with full authority, and that's what you want to have happen. I like to negotiate in person. On big deals, make sure the negotiations are in person. So on these major issues, tip number 7, make sure that you're negotiating in a room with the other person as opposed to over the phone or on email. We've closed deals over the phone, text, email, on social media, what have you, but for big cases, it's always a good idea to negotiate face-to-face. Along these lines, remember, you never have a second chance to make a good first impression, so when you're in there negotiating with someone else, dress appropriately, have appropriate hygiene, watch what you say, be polite like we've already talked about. Remember that body language, 70% of what you communicate is done through body language, so watch your body language, check your body language, and like I said, Bob's book, Adversaries into Allies, does a good job of sharing some tips with you on perfecting your people skills and your body language. So just keep that in mind. Number 8, always leave a backdoor or an exit strategy for the other side. You want to allow them to always be able to save face, not to be embarrassed, especially if they're in front of a client, especially if they're in front of whoever they're representing. And I say this because it's a small world, and the world's gotten a lot smaller because of social media. Even if you can't close a deal, and this just happened to us 2 weeks ago, we were representing an individual, and we're in litigation coming up to a trial date, and the other side and I decided, let's get into a private mediation and see if we can work this thing out. And so we spent 4 hours with a private mediation company, a retired judge, trying to get this case settled. The client and I were in one room, opposing counsel, and the claims adjuster for the insurance company were in another room. And the mediator went back and forth. And to make a very long story short, some things happened during the negotiation that were frankly beyond the control of the defense attorney, that really kind of slowed things down. Not everybody was there on time, and we didn't get the case settled. But at all times, we kept things professional. We didn't point fingers. We kept the dialogue going. We gave it a good faith shot. And you know what? Bottom line, we have a trial date in a few months. We'll pick a jury and let them decide what happens. Well, we maintained the high road, and so did the other lawyer. 2 weeks later, a couple of phone calls, a couple of emails, and guess what? We got the case settled. We got the case settled for a number that we probably should have settled the case for during the mediation, but for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. So by keeping things professional, we were able to get the job done. Question, what business are you doing, Mitch? We have a law firm in Southern California. 28, 29 years practicing law, all trial work, negotiation, both business litigation, catastrophic injury, and wrongful death. Absolutely love what I'm doing every single day. So number 8 is leave that back door open. Don't burn bridges. Always keep the dialogue going. Oftentimes after a negotiation, you can continue to work with the other side and eventually get the case done. Okay? Number 9, when the time is right, you have to be ready to close the deal. You have to be ready to ask for the sale. When you're going into a negotiation, if paperwork's going to need to be signed at the end of a deal in order for that negotiation to be binding, have the paperwork done ahead of time. Have everything that you need ready to go so that once everyone is ready to close the deal and conclude the negotiation, you've got the documentation ready, you can sign it, and it's a done deal. You don't have to worry about buyer's remorse. Sometimes what we see is after a successful negotiation, the next day the phone will ring, and one of the parties went home, talked to a spouse. Long story short, the final negotiated outcome didn't fly, and everything went down the tubes. Sometimes in business, one business owner will go back to his business partner, and the next day the negotiation falls through. So one way you can eliminate this from happening is to put everything in writing and just be prepared ahead of time to do so. It's a buyer's remorse type of syndrome. It happens a lot to inexperienced negotiators, but I guarantee you, if you're in the room with somebody that knows what he or she is doing, and everyone's invested a great deal of time and effort into the negotiation process, and you reach a deal, everybody involved is going to want to sign that document. So just be ready to close the deal. And a lot of people like that. They're hearting it, and I appreciate it. So in conclusion, what I'd like to simply share with everybody is think of negotiation and the negotiation process as a dance, okay? If the other side wants to tango, then be prepared to tango. If the other side wants to do the waltz, be prepared to do the waltz. Show up with your dancing shoes on, whether it's, hip hop, whether it's, whatever, and just be flexible and be willing to engage the other side in a meaningful negotiation using these 9 tips. So I hope you guys found this absolutely a good point. Tip number 1 and tip number 9 go hand in hand. Every single tip that I shared plays off of one or more other tips. So keep that in mind. Here's what I'd like to do. I will be sharing this video online. I'll download it to my phone and upload it to YouTube. So if you want to check back and share it with other people, that's fine. Just check my Twitter feed and I'll share the link this afternoon on Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, you can. My law firm is jacksonandwilson.com. Just reach out. Happy to help you any way I can or answer any questions about what we talked about today. And frankly, that's about it. My name is Mitch Jackson. I'm on Twitter @MitchJackson. And you guys, thanks for stopping by. Remember to always make today your masterpiece. Thanks. Bye-bye.